The MPV market in the Philippines has become one of the most popular segments in the country. The likes of the Toyota Innova has become one of the most best-selling cars out there. But for those looking for the practicality of an MPV but doesn't like the size, a compact MPV is a car for you. And this one right here is a piece that Nissan wants to have. This is the 2023 Nissan Livina VL, the top-of-the-line trim of the Nissan Livina. Today I'm going to show you around this car and I'm also going to give it a test drive, so stay tuned. Looking at the new Nissan Livina from the front, and it's definitely very Nissan. You do have that V-motion grille and you have this hood with a lot of lines on it, but if you take a look at the lights over at the front of this car, they're very reminiscent of yet another compact MPV in this segment. We'll get to that later. Headlights down below, halogens only, and DRLs up top right here just below your hood. But once you do go on over towards the side of the car, this is where it really hits you. What the Nissan Livina actually is a cooperation with Mitsubishi and is basically a rebadged Mitsubishi Expander. Just like the Mitsubishi Expander, you get these nice lines that runs all across the car. You get these chrome plated wing mirrors with repeaters on it and 16-inch rims. You get disc brakes up front but only drum brakes towards the rear. Open up the hood of the Nissan Livina and you will expect Nissan to have at least changed the powertrain in this car. Unfortunately, it is the exact same powertrain you get with the Mitsubishi Expander. This one right here is a 1.5-liter inline-4 gasoline engine with 105 horsepower and 141 Newton meters of torque, and it is still mated to a 4-speed automatic transmission. As for fuel economy, you can do around 8.5 kilometers per liter in the city and about 14 kilometers per liter in the highway. Move on over towards the back of the Nissan Livina. You do get the same design as the Mitsubishi Expander. Look at the lights, they're very similar, and even the general shape of this one is pretty much identical. However, there is one thing here that will definitely differentiate the Livina from the Expander. Take a look at these diffusers down below. They are split instead of a one-piece design, which is quite different from the Mitsubishi Expander. Open up this tailgate and it isn't powered, but over here you have enough space to put a couple of luggages. Fold down all of the seats, including the second row seats, and you're looking at 1,630 liters of space, which is more than enough for any family. And now we enter the Nissan Livina and check the door hood first. Yeah, it's okay, but it's definitely not on the great side. The interior of the Nissan Livina, well, it is clad in a lot of hard-touch plastic. Nonetheless, they do feel durable, but you'll be incredibly hard-pressed to find a single soft-touch padded material over here. Luckily though, unlike the Mitsubishi Expander, the seats on this one, at least on the VL trim, are covered in pretty soft leather actually, and the bolsterings for the seats aren't too aggressive either. They're very much tailored for a more comfort-oriented drive. The steering wheel is also leather wrapped and is actually pretty good to the touch. And of course, you do have your Nissan badge over there in place of the Mitsubishi badge. Multi-function too, you can control your radio settings over here by the left, and you can even tilt and telescope the steering wheel. The instrument cluster has some red tinge to it, which looks pretty good. Easy to read, incredibly clear, also with a multi-information display towards the center. Towards the center of everything though, you'll see a bunch of faux wood trim on it. It's like this dark wood, which I actually love. It looks really premium. However, when you do go on over to the infotainment side of things, you do get a touchscreen. It is a 7-inch touchscreen with a reverse camera, but it's not the most responsive out there, but it is still proper usable, and the reverse camera isn't also the clearest. My one gripe about the interior of the Nissan Livina is the air vents in this car. They're a bit on the flimsy side, so you do have to approach with caution if you do move these air vents. Down below is a regular shifter. You even have an overdrive buttons for it. There are so much cubbies in this car. So one over here, there's a USB port 2 with a 12-volt outlet, 2 cup holders, and even this giant center cubby. Plus, you even get a lot of bottle holders towards the side. What I'm not too big of a fan of is this handbrake right here. So despite this car being a left-hand drive model, you do still have your handbrake on the far side, as if this car was originally made for right-hand drive markets. Now we are here at the second row of the Nissan Livina, and first we check the door thud. And it's definitely more than okay sounding. It sounds better than the front doors. Back here, one thing I absolutely appreciate. If you look at the doors right here, they have the same faux dark wood trim, which really does add a little bit of zing to this rather monotonous interior. Other things I love back here is the abundance of legroom as well as headroom. You even have these map pockets on both sides of the seats instead of usually in this price point just one side, and you even get these like cell phone and wallet pockets only for the driver's seat. You might think that you don't have that much toys back here, but you actually do get your own air vents up top. It's more of a blower, not really a dual AC setup. And if you pull this little strap right here, you actually have your own armrest, all leather covered and all pretty soft. I really love it for a car of this price point. Other things you can do back here, you can even slide these second row seats forward and backwards to give space to the third people, and you can even recline your seats and they go pretty far back. As for carrying 3 people here at the second row, it is actually doable because the center tunnel isn't that high and the car, it feels a bit on the wide side akin to these rather thin door panels. For the third row, they're best reserved for children. However, if you are in a ditch, you can easily move these second row seats a bit forward and adults can semi-comfortably sit back there, but definitely not for longer journeys. In terms of features, the all-new 2023 Nissan Livina VL comes with 2 airbags, hill start assist, anti-lock braking system, vehicle dynamic control, and traction control system. So driving the all-new Nissan Livina VL, the thing about the Livina VL is that it's incredibly comfy. The suspension is not trying to be sporty in any way, nor is really the powertrain of this car. It simply gets you and all your passengers from point A to point B practically and comfortably. Of course, push this car over hard corners and you're going to feel a lot of roll. But if you just drive it normally inside the city, you're going to be very happy with the Nissan Livina. The powertrain in this car too, it's not exactly fast, but I wouldn't say that it is underpowered. Some people might say that 105 horsepower doesn't sound like much, and it's more or less the same amount of power figures that you would get with subcompact sedans. Yes, that is true, but despite the size of this car, it actually doesn't weigh that much more than those subcompact sedans. So the power in this one, yeah, it is more than enough. When you drive this car inside the city, it's rather easy to maneuver. One thing to watch out for are those wing mirrors, which are pretty big, so they will get some sort of getting used to, especially if you're not really used to driving bigger cars. But when you do go over to the highway, that's where a little bit of the struggles of the Nissan Livina comes up. Just like its mechanical twin, the Mitsubishi Expander, the bottleneck of this car isn't really the engine. It's mostly the transmission with this 4-speed automatic. I wouldn't say that it's incredibly laggy, not at all. It's just that when you are going rather fast speeds, you know that the car is telling you that it wants, or at least desires, to have an additional gear or two, or maybe even a CVT transmission, because when you're going pretty fast, yeah, the engine tends to rev a little bit high. And speaking of highway driving as well, wind noise and tire noise does seem to enter the cabin, especially since the shape of the body isn't exactly the most aerodynamic out there. Next up would be steering this car. The steering in the Nissan Livina is incredibly light, definitely perfect for city driving. And once you do go a little bit faster, don't worry, because it's not incredibly light to the point that it's a little bit scary, it's a little bit too sensitive. Not at all. You can easily drive this long distances without any problem in terms of the steering. One great thing to commend the Nissan Livina for is its visibility. Because of the shape of the car, you just get so much windows in this that are all pretty huge, including this quarter panel right here. And just maneuvering this car, you just see everything around you, even on the sides and even at the back. So for those who really like cars that feel very airy, cars that you can see so much out of, oh, you're definitely gonna love the visibility here inside the Nissan Livina. The Nissan Livina VL is a comfortable and practical small MPV that can easily carry around your entire family. Now, if we do have to compare this car slightly to its mechanical twin, the Mitsubishi Expander, it's kind of hard to justify one car over the other, especially since they are rather similarly priced. At this point, it really does just come down to brand preference and whichever's look you prefer, the V-Motion grille or the dynamic shield design.